There comes a point in time in my life where I start to wonder why I hadn't watched or read something sooner. This was the revelation that came to me as I finally completed a specific visual novel this past month. It was one of many visual novels that I had bought within the last year, specifically when I attended Anime Expo 2024. I'm a bit of a congoer myself, so it was a no-brainer that I would be attending arguably the largest anime convention in North America. At the time, I had already gone to so many conventions, seen so many things, and bought all that I've wanted, and inevitably, I wanted to start something new. I wanted to start a VN collection of physical copies, and sometime on day 3, I bought out an entire publisher's booth. It was Manga Gamer. And as I went home and wrapped up the weekend, coincidentally, a new visual novel came in the mail. It was the limited edition Tsukihime remake for the Nintendo Switch, and I just had to indulge, completely disregarding my disastrous backlog. It definitely was not the reason why it took over a year until I started and finished one of the VNs I bought, but it's better late than never, I guess. After completing Tsukihime along with several other visual novels, I had finally gotten around to read this one specific VN. Upon finishing it, after putting it off for so long, I was absolutely astonished. This VN, it made me feel a lot of things. It made me feel anger, disgust, and pity. Not because the visual novel was awful, but because it narrated such a tragic tale. It left me with a bittersweet taste in my mouth, one that I needed time in order to digest. But one thing I can say in absolute certainty is this: it was beautiful, in spite of such depravity. It wasn't just a visual novel, it was a tale that's revered throughout the VN community, a timeless classic, a fairy tale passed down between those who endured it. It's a Gothic tragedy, a puzzle box of memories and identities, a haunting reflection on humanity, curses, love, loss, and the passage of time. I didn't understand the significance of it all until I read it for myself. It's a story that spans across centuries, in a secluded mansion in the woods. It's the house in Fata Morgana.
Só chegar a esta casa, luz, você odia, luz que não gostei, mas você ama. Meu sol mais brilhante, depois blaming at lover, não faz medo nada.
The House in Fata Morgana is a deep dive into the depths of human nature. It's a story that unravels the worst in humanity. It's a tale of unforgiving cruelty, discrimination, and hatred. It's a provocative story that showcases the existentialism of the human condition. But it doesn't just serve everything on a silver platter, obviously. It's a narrative that unfolds itself through mysteries that we, the player, uncover. The House in Fata Morgana is a mystery visual novel set in a decrepit old mansion in the middle of the woods. Our player, the protagonist, awakens before a maid claiming that they are the master of the house. The player has no recollection of memories nor concept of self. As in the case with an amnesiac character, the maid invites them to traverse the halls of the mansion alongside her, beholding several tragedies that have occurred over the course of centuries, tragedies that fell upon past residents whom once lived and breathed the same house. The maid suggests that, among them, perhaps the player may be able to find traces of themselves. There are 4 doors that the maid takes the player through, that retells the tragic fate of those who came before. The first takes place in the year 1603, the second in 1707, the third in 1869, and the fourth in 1099, each taking place in different eras, but they all share a common thread within a cursed fate. It's up to the player to decide what to do with these revelations and if they want to press on. Revealing the mystery behind the mansion, the maid, as well as who you are playing as. The game makes no attempt to hide its oppressive atmosphere. The monochromatic setting and imagery further reiterates this notion. It serves to emphasize the suspense and the mystery the game seeks to convey to the player. This Gothic approach, while foreboding at first, keeps us at the edge of our seats. And while it is a visual novel, you'd expect it to have an anime-esque art style, but that isn't the case in The House in Fata Morgana. While it initially caught me off guard, it was definitely something to get used to, especially when accustomed to the conventional VN art style. With that said, it turned out to be an art style I enjoyed, and it especially complements the type of story and atmosphere the game embodies. The way the arcs and tragedies unfold, it gave way to a sense of melancholy that can only be personified through the game's unique art style. The tragedies in The House in Fata Morgana take some inspiration from Shakespearean literature that corroborates an unforgiving narrative about fate and the capacity for evil in humans. Tropes like the star-crossed lovers from Romeo and Juliet and the themes of jealousy, manipulation, and the breakdown of trust in the tragedy of Othello come to mind. Across all the doors that we open alongside the maid, we unravel the mystery of this decrepit old mansion, the secrets it harbors, and the hatred that exists within its walls. The theme and narratives that The House in Fata Morgana ultimately portray are about eternal damnation, the question of whether people are doomed to repeat mistakes, cruelty versus forgiveness in the face of injustice, and identity. These themes tell a compelling narrative that stays with us long after the credits roll. It's definitely not a game for the faint of heart, but it's still an incredibly fulfilling read that challenges what we take for granted. The way the story progresses is through the retelling of past residents that spans across centuries. Moving from 1603, 1707, 1869, and 1099, the game initially seems like it's recounting unrelated events with not a connecting dot to be seen. The House in Fata Morgana is definitely a slower paced game, taking its time to really establish the characters and the foreboding events that follow. But combining both seemingly unconnecting events and a slow burn, it can be quite difficult to get through the game. On average, The House in Fata Morgana can take anywhere from 30 to 40 hours to complete. It's a substantial commitment, but that length is also what allows the story to fully immerse you. Rather than rushing through its tragedies, the game gives each era and character the space to breathe, making the revelations and emotional payoffs in the later chapters all the more impactful. And while that might sound intimidating, along with one thing that I forgot to mention is that the game has no voice acting, which can make it much more difficult to read. However, the novel is structured in a way that makes it approachable. Each door feels like a self-contained story. It's almost like reading a series of novellas. You can step away and return without losing the thread, and before long, the pieces begin to tie together, especially in the later chapters of the game. All the characters we spend time with, the tragedies that unfold, connect to a greater mystery. It's an incredible payoff that culminates from a mixture of suspense, thriller, and despair. One thing that The House in Fata Morgana does that's quite interesting is that it provides varying reading experiences for the player. Sometimes the game contains discrete dialogue when you check the backlog, revealing a secret conversation. Sometimes the game provides an unreliable narrator, revealing half-truths to push a mystery. Sometimes the game provides a fairy tale-like narration about events and characters, others in an oral third-person retelling. By doing so, the game keeps readers engaged and provides variety such that nothing gets too stale. Furthermore, when we look at who we follow in the game, it adds an additional layer to the grander mystery. One of the central components that drives the visual novel is the identity of the protagonist. Who are they? What is their significance, and what sort of connection do they have to these tragedies? While I don't think it's necessarily an uncommon trope to have a character that we uncover, what's interesting to me about the player in The House of Fata Morgana is that they may or may not have much relevance to tragedies in the earlier chapters, but their relevance becomes compounded as time goes on. And of course, while the mystery and tragedies are what gives the game its identity, we cannot forget about the characters. The characters arguably gives life to the game. Yes, of course this statement is wholly universal in many mediums it's applicable to, but I still want to state the obvious. There were many times where I found it quite difficult to play through the game, especially given its heavy narratives and just how soulless it seemed when you view the subject matter and aesthetics. But it's not soulless in a bad way, it's just how it is, because the game makes makes you feel powerless and empty. But within that vacuum, we see characters that make it much more bearable. For how devoid of life the decrepit mansion is, the quiet presence and faint hope that we see through the characters is what made me stick with it much longer. These characters are written in such a dynamic and intimate way that sheds light on their trauma, how it affects them, and highlighting their flawed being. I just loved how the game is able to make readers care so much for these characters and their plight. Every chapter we traverse, we're introduced to these people and gradually dive down the Mariana Trench of their being. We get an understanding of their deepest, darkest desires, the things they worry about, the things they want to hide, and their sins. These were moments of warmth, moments of love, moments of joy, moments of content. But there were also moments of isolation, of rejection, of fear, of contempt, of perversion, of hypocrisy, and of despair. Whether it was characters who were innocent in spite all odds, those who were morally bankrupt, or those who were irredeemably evil, the house in Fata Morgana brings out the humanity in each and every one of them through their tragedies. It's gotten me to even sympathize with certain characters whom I'd usually hate, and that's a testament to the power of literature and the way the game is able to craft such a compelling narrative. And don't even get me started on the music. It's incredible. The music in the House of Fata Morgana invokes a variety of emotions. It's gothic, fantastical, romantic, and emotional. It perfectly encapsulates the settings of the game to the various eras in time we find ourselves traversing. But even beyond these settings, the music befits the game as it stands. It's very classical, and overall gives this folktale-esque atmosphere. Many notable tracks in the game are lyrical, with overpowering vocals compared to instrumental arrangements. It's definitely a unique twist to the conventional visual novel soundtracks, which primarily composes of just instrumentals. It can be quite an adjustment, especially on first encounter, but it soon becomes extremely fitting. These soundtracks are sung in Portuguese, and as someone who knows absolutely zero knowledge of the Portuguese language, I can say that irregardless, these soundtracks are phenomenal. The music is crafted to fit the circumstances of the narrative and makes readers feel the emotions that come from it. It adds weight to the events. It gives us a rush of adrenaline. It's a roller coaster. The game's music provides arguably one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard across all visual novels I've played. Because of the melancholic nature of the game, the soundtracks reflect that unease, but it also makes you feel like you're in the game itself in real time. The soundtrack makes you feel as though you are drifting in the mundane, the past, in space and time. It's slow and stagnant, atmospheric but never boring. Here are just a few snippets.
Estoy contando os dias que nós passamos. O que você esconde de toda calada.
The House in Fata Morgana is a story that doesn't shy away from the hardest questions we can ask about ourselves. It's a gothic tragedy that grapples with eternal damnation and whether we as people are truly capable of change or simply doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. It confronts cruelty head on while also daring to ask if forgiveness can still exist in the face of unforgivable acts. And at its heart, it's a meditation on identity, on who we are, who we believe ourselves to be, and how our past shapes us. What makes it all the more powerful is how these themes are expressed. Through its structure, the doors that span centuries, we see history repeat itself in hauntingly familiar ways. Its Shakespearean echoes of star-crossed love, jealousy, and manipulation highlight the timelessness of human tragedy. Its atmosphere, oppressive yet captivating, pulls us deeper into the mansion's walls, while the unique art style and melancholic soundtrack elevate every moment. And of course, its characters, their flaws, their trauma, their fleeting joys, that make the story bearable amidst so much despair. These aren't themes or elements that make for an easy or comfortable read, but that's what makes The House in Fata Morgana so unforgettable. It forces you to sit with its tragedies, to feel the weight of its questions, and to reflect on our own answers. It lingers, it unsettles, and it stays with you long after the credits roll. And yet, for all its darkness, the rare moments of tenderness and hope stands out, reminding us why the struggle is worth enduring in the first place. It's not just me who feels this way either. The House in Fata Morgana has cemented itself as one of the most highly regarded visual novels of all time, often appearing at one of the top spots of VNDB rankings and being praised across the community for its storytelling, music, and atmosphere. Its reputation as a modern classic isn't exaggerated. It's a work that continues to resonate with both longtime VN readers and newcomers alike. If you want a visual novel that challenges not just your emotions, but your perspective, I can't recommend The House in Fata Morgana enough. It's tragic, it's profound, and above all, it's unforgettable.